Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon in Dubai. I think good morning in Canada. So for those that who log in from different countries, either good morning, good afternoon, or good afternoon, morning, evening. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining us. My program, The Key to Diversifications. My name is Mandy Chen, Head of IQI International Sales. Just a little bit background of myself. I've been involved in international marketing for more than 7 years. Myself as an investor, I have invested a few properties in different countries for the past few years. The program I designed is to benefit for those that who keen to explore in international properties, or they want to diversify their investment portfolio by hedging against the currency, yet they do not know how to go about it. Perhaps this is one of the main concerns that a lot of investors are doubtful at or worried about. So in this program, we will be able to give you a fundamental of investment guidelines, rules and regulations to invest abroad. Besides, we are actually providing some of the insights of the global real estate market updates and outlooks for you to have a better understanding the international markets. By end of this program, you'll be benefit or you'll be able to know that in fact, some of the countries, the investment policies are rather friendly towards foreigner, and there are only minimum entry costs for foreigner as well. So our program will run every day, 8 p.m. Malaysia time, GMT +8, and will be featured in IQI International Sales Facebook Live. So please mark your calendar and join us every night. So in my program, I actually invited quite a lot of panel speakers from different industrial, and majority of them are qualified professional real estate specialists, and some of them are from our IQI Global team. They are investors as well, so they are able to share their experience and knowledge towards your property diversifications. So today we are very honored to have a special guest all the way from JUWAI, okay, Mr. Gyo from JUWAI.com. JUWAI is one of the largest online marketplace in China that market international properties, and we have offices around the world. So let Gyo introduce himself to you. Okay, let's welcome Gyo. Gyo, can you just introduce, briefly talk about yourself and your company?
Thank you so much, Mandy. That's very kind of you. And good morning, good day, good afternoon, and good night to everyone here on the program. And so I'm Georg Schmiel. I'm the executive chairman of JUWAIIQI, and JUWAIIQI has two parts. One is JUWAI.com, the other one is IQI Global. And JUWAI.com is a Chinese website. It is a portal which is the largest portal for Chinese buyers in global real estate. And I'm very, very honored to be here on the program to share my thoughts and ideas, and also what we are finding at the moment happening in China.
That's great. So for those that have just joined in today, okay, today is the episode 10, the key to diversifications, and we will talk about the China, okay, how China market impact the global real estate. So in this case, it's like everybody would wish to know that how's the China situations right now. Perhaps since you are the bridge to China market, so you are the best person that we can actually know about these situations now. Can you elaborate?
More than happy to elaborate a bit on it. So on a very micro level, I mean, the office has been operating in Shanghai for the last 4 weeks or so, a bit more than that. And but there was a lockdown, and that was for 4 weeks, and 2 weeks in the Hong Kong office. Now people are gradually back at their normal work routines. There are still some regional restrictions, but it's nearly normal, I would say. I mean, the property market maybe, and that's probably most of interest to our viewers, yes. The property market in March was 3 times up on the February levels. February was really the depressed time, 3 times up. And for the first quarter, the sales volume seems to exceed slightly the volume of the quarter when the last year finished. So that's actually a very, very positive sign.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we open up the news and we see what we can see, we read about like properties being sold within a minute, a whole building being Guangzhou being sold in 1 minute, and so on. I mean, obviously you have these cases, but you have also a general improvement in all economic factors. And China, which obviously went very sharply down as part of the corona crisis, as many other countries, is now bouncing back in an equally sharp V-shaped recovery. So consumption is up, and things are getting back to normal. Even in the automotive industry and other industries, it's really back in business, and schools are open and so on.
In fact, this is China is the first country that opened up ever since we've been locked down for so many months, and a few other countries are still doing lockdown as well. So we are actually proud of China. The governments have done a great job. Wow, that's great, fantastic. Okay, how Chinese reacted after they released from the lockdown? A lot of people are interested to know.
Yes. Can imagine. I mean, initially, obviously, everybody was very, very excited. I mean, how people will be in Malaysia and in other parts of the world when finally lockdown gets released. They go out of the building and do the things they've always dreamt about. Like in New Zealand, for example, everybody was running to McDonald's because there seems to have been a massive catch-up needed. So in China, similar scenes. I'm not sure if you saw the scenes, luxury shopping. There's a thing called revenge shopping. So people went back after the lockdown and really shopped more than ever before. Cars are being purchased, real estate is being purchased. So people are getting back to normality. I mean, masks, etc., are still on the agenda. But I mean, they have been before as well. I mean, people in these parts of the world have always been a bit more cautious about infectious diseases.
Yeah, in fact, that brought me attention is the Hermes shopping articles
yes,
they are talking about. Yeah.
Also Chanel. So all the big brands were pretty much frequented very much. I like the term revenge shopping.
Okay. Okay, for those who just joined in, thanks for joining us today, the Key to Diversification, episode 10. Remember, if you have any questions for Gil, you can actually post it. We will try to answer it later. All right. And as usual, in this program, we are actually giving out a free report. So for those who want to get this report from JUWAI IQI, so please like our page and like our program and comment, report. Our team will actually contact you personally and send the reports to you. All right. All right. So after talking about revenge spendings, what about the demand in investing abroad? I heard that the number is increasing as well.
The number is definitely increasing. So depending on it's. I mean, we've seen reports where we've seen demand on our media assets that properties in people are looking stronger in Malaysia, in Australia, in the UAE, in the US, in Canada. So pretty much in many countries. I mean, a few countries have actually extra over proportionally increased in terms of their demand, which is countries where the health system seems to have been less impacted by the coronavirus, like Germany. But then on the other side, I mean, the usual suspects, so to speak, are back in high demand, which are the Southeast Asian countries of Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, as well as Vietnam, Australia. New Zealand is being seen as a safe haven. Obviously, people think it's pretty much shielded from whatever else is happening in the world. Plus, the positive news from the country in New Zealand obviously have helped really in this impression. Then people are also starting to hunt a bit for bargains, like in the UK. And in other places, US and so on, people are getting more and more interested in looking around. What is key, what is really key is all this looking around is happening online because travel at the moment is obviously restricted. Yes, on both sides. So when you travel, you leave somewhere and you go somewhere. On the leaving side, there are certain restrictions in place. So even within China, you can't fully travel anywhere, everywhere. wherever you like. I mean, in the Northeast, they eased a bit the restrictions, and then due to travel between Russia and China, COVID was increasing, so they slowed that down and imposed in some places quarantine rules, not too dissimilar from other countries. But the key is going from China to other countries. I mean, it's almost impossible to get into another country unless you're a citizen or have some form of special like reason to go there. So the biggest challenge at the moment is to get into other countries. But where there is a need, there's always a solution. Online provides a solution. I mean, you can screen, you can educate yourself, you can look at properties online, you can do virtual tours, you can even purchase properties. I mean, in JUWAIIQI, a lot of the purchases have completely shifted to online, which I'm particularly proud of, because what people have done is they have really responded well. They haven't put up their feet and said, oh, it's all too hard, what else should we do in the current time? They've taken the initiative, been brave, and really embraced the situation.
Yep. So even though regardless of any certain situations right now, but the demand of the inquiry from the Chinese buyer will never stop. I would say that. That's
a fair statement, and it's actually quite big. I mean, it's roughly $500 billion is the total amount of money Chinese buyer invest overseas in real estate, and that's residential, mostly a bit of commercial, excludes obviously industrial investments. So that's I mean, they are a big buyer group. They're very passionate about property, and they see property as the biggest asset class for various reasons, for education, for retirement, for investment purposes, or migration. So there's a lot of reasons why people invest into real estate, and in particular, Chinese buyers invest.
Okay, when do you think that China will lift the travel ban? And when Chinese start to travel abroad, so what do you think will happen?
I think it will depend on the countries where they travel to. And I would say probably what we are seeing now in May, and that's only an estimate. In May, we are seeing we're going from phase 4 probably to a phase 5 in Malaysia. So it's gradually being improved or reduced the restrictions. So maybe by June, we are gradually back to normal. So by the second half, maybe travel can gradually resume. I don't know, it will depend also on the other countries. So it will depend on how well the US manages COVID, and a couple of other countries. So specifically for those countries. And for Southeast Asia, I mean, I think the stats I've seen are pretty positive for all of these countries. So I can't see it will take too long. Yep,
that is great to know. Okay, how do you see the China impact the global real estate markets?
Obviously, China has impacted the global real estate market, but more importantly, also the global economy. Because, I mean, before COVID happened, China, Southeast Asia, in particular the ASEAN 5, where Malaysia is part of, and India have shown strong growth, in the Middle East, strong growth, stronger than the rest of the world. And COVID has slowed their growth down, but they will bounce back, and they will bounce back and possibly compensate for, I mean, over the years for the decline in growth. So because China has invested a lot of funds into infrastructure projects across the region, across the Belt and Road Initiative regions, they have also then helped property investments, because when you invest into industry, property investment often follows.
Yep. So do you have any report showing that who are the biggest investor in the world?
I don't have a report about the total investors in the world, but what I know is total real estate in the world is around $200 trillion US, which is a huge number, and around 20 trillion US dollars get transacted every year. Obviously, domestic markets are always the biggest, but then cross-border investments are also a fairly big number. What I know is that within on a global scale, Chinese buyers are one of the biggest buyer groups, if not the biggest buyer group. by the sheer number, by the sheer size of the economy. I mean, it's the second biggest economy in nominal terms. If you adjust for purchasing power, it is actually technically the biggest one. And so from that perspective, it's usually GDP growth and wealth coincide with investment in real estate. When you add on top of it a strong affinity of a country or people in a country towards real estate, then this further increases the affinity towards real estate investments.
Okay, that's great. Okay, for those that who just log in and join us this program, thanks for joining us. Today we are talking about episode 10, the key to diversifications. We're talking about China, all right? So for those that who wants to have the report from the JUWAIIQI, please like our page or like our program and comment report. We will get our team to send it to you. But unfortunately, the report is actually in Chinese. So that's what we are available right now. But eventually, if we could get an English version from JUWAIIQI, we will definitely share it with you. All right. So what is the top 5? I mean, which is the top 5 countries that Chinese invested or they prefer to diversify their investment portfolio?
Yes. Let me give you a bit of a longer answer for that. If you had asked me this question 3 years ago, I would have said to you the top 5 countries is the USA, Australia, Canada, Thailand, and UK. And if you asked me in January before COVID had impacted the total economy, then suddenly the picture would have been fundamentally different. Suddenly Malaysia would have been among the top 5. And the other countries would have dropped a bit off, and UK would have been outside the top 5. So if you look at the top 10 from 3 years ago to now, 3 years ago there were 3 Asian countries. Now there are 6 Asian countries, and they're all on the rise: Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, Japan, Malaysia, and Thailand. And Cambodia is not far off. Neither is UAE. And the Western countries, so to speak, left is UK, Canada, US, and Australia. The big impact is a couple of short-term and long-term factors. Real estate has become now, due to the readily available technology, become almost like a share market. So people change fairly quickly their short-term preferences. What can impact short-term preferences? Short-term, I'm talking about a few months. COVID, for example, shifts a bit. Brexit had an impact. The trade war is more a longer term piece. So the trade war between the US and Canada has very much strengthened the Southeast Asian real estate, because people were looking for new partners, and Southeast Asia provides affordable production facility for automotive, for technology, and other things. So so these are the key things. And then obviously very short term, as I said earlier to you, during the COVID, suddenly Germany popped up because of their health system. Philippines popped up further because of a relatively good way of handling the whole COVID situation. And then US and UK for bargain hunters, and Greece for golden visa.
Okay, that's great to know. But okay, understand that from China perspective, it's like the real estate market in China are pretty lucrative as well. So they actually have huge capital appreciations, and the rental yield is actually pretty good. So I was just wondering, what is their motive for Chinese buyers to invest abroad?
The motive for investing abroad is on the one side, from an investment point of view. If they're investors, then as you said, the capital has appreciated very much in Chinese cities, and Chinese cities are quite expensive, relatively speaking, on a global scale. So investing in other places on a global scale is very attractive, because you gain, you have a massive capital gain potential, such as in Malaysia, in Vietnam, Thailand, etc. The other reason is because Chinese parents want to send their children to school or university. They want to retire. I mean, if you think of the MM2H program in Malaysia, or they want a change in lifestyle, or they want to migrate.
All right. So that's right now we know what's the reasons they want to invest abroad. Okay, due to the uncertainties economy right now, investors a lot of investors will have this approach like wait and see, or wait till the price go down again. So you always have this same comments all the time. So what is your view on this?
I mean, first of all, my view is when a market is very strong and positive, people always think it can never change, it can never start to decline. And when a market is very low, people never see the light at the end of the tunnel that it will move up again. And I would say the first and foremost is use the time right now. I mean, there's a lot of time and online time especially available for everyone to educate yourself. Go to the online players, go to JUWAI.com, go to all read reports, etc. about where you want to invest. Compare offerings and so on. It is a good time for opportunities because obviously it's a new situation, but deals are being done. I mean, if you go to a good real estate professional, you can see that they have options out there, opportunities out there for you, and they can help you in even like, I mean, as we are speaking today, in an online consultation via Zoom, they can show you the property via virtual tours. And I mean, there's live expos and other things. I mean, we used to have physical expos, and we've changed completely over to live expos now. So where we showcase properties, developments, and it really gets a lot of interest. So there's a lot of interest. On our last expo, we had 93,000 viewers attending, wow, which is quite a lot, which shows people are interested in real estate, even if they might not all be buying at the moment. They're very interested. And if I look at the whole transaction and sales number, I'm honestly thinking this is a very attractive time for some people. So there's quite some activity out there.
Yeah, especially those smart investors, probably this is the best time for them to grab the best deal, because always there's uncertainties. That's yes, where the opportunity is. Yes. All right, so I believe that COVID-19 actually impact the overall global real estate. So a lot of people was like asking or wondering, is real estate in a risky era? Any comment on this?
I mean, first and foremost, prices have not moved much, because people are rather so people who own properties are rather taking a step back and saying, maybe I wait a bit before I sell my property, unless I obviously have to sell. And investors are looking a bit more carefully, but there are transactions happening. So prices haven't really moved much. The second bit is probably more about a bit more a regional question on how did COVID impact the global real estate on a country-by-country basis. And we've asked roughly 1,000 agents across 60 countries and said, so how do you think about the future? And that was a month ago, when there wasn't talk about easing. It was really the darkest time of the COVID time. And interesting enough, so 80% said it will get worse. Okay, and then we looked a bit more about the different countries, and it was predominantly in Singapore and in Australia. US people were a bit more negative, but in Southeast Asia they were slightly more positive. Now that had multiple reasons. That can be impacted by the local politicians. They can be impacted by all sorts of things. But what I found so positive is Malaysia, Philippines, as well as Vietnam and Thailand were really positive, is because people can see that, I mean, they have experienced different crises before, and they know if you have a strong underlying economy up to this situation, the economy will come back. If you have a growing population, people will need real estate. They need
a place to stay.
The other change is probably how we do real estate. I mean, yes, the open for inspections in some countries have changed. In Australia, they only guide one like party through a property. We don't have any open for inspection, so in our case it's done online. The selling is done online, and even, I mean, with modern technology, even opening like rental properties, etc., with an online key with your mobile phone, things which are really happening. But I think the key is also people are really slightly reshuffling their preferences towards countries which handle the pandemic well, and who also are quite well positioned to benefit of the recovery. And people are like taking a step back from very risky or speculative investments and play it a bit more safer. And the last bit is people are starting to think more and more of global real estate as a diversification. So don't put all the eggs in one basket. I mean, you said earlier, you have a few properties in different countries, and I think that is the right thing.
Yep. So of course, recently we had some of the articles were saying the property price have dropped to 50% to 70%, but no way. If I'm the owner, I probably wouldn't sell it at 50% or 70%. So it won't happen. So a lot of people will just say that, oh, let's wait for the property price drop. It will never drop, even for the past how many years of history in the global. I didn't see any price been dropping like at 50% or 70%. So there's no right or wrong times to invest, but it's just
not a share market. It's not a share market. It's something which is really essential for people to either live in or I mean, it's something tangible.
Yep. So thanks for joining us. For those who just came in, remember we are giving a report away. So from JUWAI IQI. So if you want to have the report, please comment report and like our page. We will get our team to send it to you. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask, because we have a very experienced, knowledgeable gentleman here. We'll be able to answer all your questions with regards to the global real estate. All right, so we are waiting for your answer. Meanwhile, when do you expect that to see the property markets to be recovered, or there's another next boom?
I think the market will recover in sync a bit with also the economic recovery, slightly ahead of it. I mean, if you look at China, Q1 improved towards the end. Q2 is already looking quite strong. So if you apply the same thing, I think I mean in a few months we will see more and more positive news. I mean, real estate is also a question a bit of confidence. I mean, once the confidence comes back to the market, and once more and more good news are coming in, then things will recover. I mean, we still have to overcome the economic shake-up or aftermath of this COVID crisis, but I do believe that, especially in Asia and Australia, we are a bit better prepared for it than other markets who had before not the same level of growth. But again, this is not a country by country. This is a region by region, a city by city, a development by development, almost like a type of analysis which will need to be held. Yep. It's also not, and that's important, maybe let me add this please, is it's not a financial crisis. So this is not 2008 where we had a global financial crisis. Global financial crisis where lending got out of hand and subprime mortgage crisis, etc., which was really associated with real estate. That was associated with real estate in 2008. This one is not. So that one was a wealth crisis. Now we are more in a health crisis, as someone else said the other day, and I think it's a good differentiation. Now, obviously, it has an impact on the economy because it limits our mobility, it limits the supply chains and other things. But I mean, there's a lot of funds out there in the market, like waiting to be reinvested. So the other part of the question, might there be a boom? I definitely do believe there will be a recovery and a rebound.
All right. So in recent, there's one report showing that the this year, the 2020, the GDP growth is a bit reduced as to compare to what we forecasted. But in the coming year, they will foresee that there's a huge jump on the GDP growth in certain countries. So what is your view on this? I mean, that was published by the IMF, and it was really saying those countries who were strong in 2019 and like take a reduction, some into the negatives in 2020, will rebound almost like
to make up for the 2020 decline will rebound and grow strongly in 2021. Among those countries was China, which I think had a growth of 7 to 9%, 9% predicted. Southeast Asia also 7 or 8%. So very, very strong. Same for India and so on. So these markets will come back, and because the underlying economics haven't really changed.
All right. So what is the summary that why we should invest now? I mean, for this whole programs.
So if you have money, then I would, and if you have done your homework, you have analyzed various forms of investments and so on, then the first question I would ask myself is now a time where prices are rather slightly more favorable? I mean, we said earlier there won't be 50% off, but maybe there's an opportunity for a special deal or a special bargain and so on. So buy when prices are lower, and keep the properties. I mean, properties appreciate and grow in multiple ways via capital gains as well as the income stream from a rental property. So again, it's not a financial crisis, and again, we are mostly in Asia and Asia associated markets, and therefore I'm very, very confident that we will bounce back.
Good. So I hope that today, for those who's joining us, you have benefited a lot from our executive chairman of JUWAI.com. So he shared a little bit of the potentials in the global market and the opportunity as well. So if you like our program, so please give us a like or like our page as well. So we are doing it every day, okay, 8 p.m. Malaysia time, GMT +8. And tomorrow we are talking about Australia, Sydney markets. So another cities that you can actually look into when you want to diversify your investment portfolio. And we certainly have lots of good projects offered by the Sydney developer as well. For those that was interested to know more of the international project, you can always log into our IQI Global websites. We have lots of projects listed in different countries, so for your choice. All right, so remember to log in every day, 8 p.m. Malaysia time, GMT +8, and I hope you like our program. If you like our program, please give us likes and share it with your friends, because this program is actually open to the public, and we are here to educate public how to invest wisely. We are basically giving some tips. All right, so I hope that you guys benefit from that. All right, so today, thank you very much for all this information, for sharing your experience and knowledge towards the Chinese buyers and behavior that impact the global markets. Thank you very much. I open the floor. Is there any questions that you would like to ask? Okay, let me check if there's any questions. Well, guess you are very detailed, so you're superb good.
Yes.
So there's no question asked.
Thank you. Exceptional moderation. Thank you, Mandy. And I really enjoyed being on this show, on the Mandy Show.
Yes, thanks a lot. So I hope everybody take care, stay safe, and stay at home. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.